Hey, the vibes are slipping. I think it's time to bring out the Velveeta shells and cheese. The holidays are a time to go all in on indulgence. Headline your meals with the rich, creamy meltiness of Velveeta shells and cheese and satisfy your holiday cravings like no other. Bring that main course energy to your side dish. Celebrate extra with Velveeta these holidays.
No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit purina.com/purple to learn more.
I am Nicole Khalil. In addition to being your host of the This Is Woman's Work podcast, I'm also a certified hotel snob. It's ridiculous. And I'm a little embarrassed to admit it, but not embarrassed enough to stop being one. Let me be clear. My priority is always covering our basic needs, like our bills, responsibilities, giving, and everything that life seems to require. And anything beyond that is a luxury. And we each get to decide how we want to spend our extra money. For me, most of it goes straight to flights, hotels, and experiences, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to do that. So you'd think with all of the travel that I get to do that I'd be better at finding all those perks and efficient at collecting all those points, but mostly I find it really overwhelming. Sure, I get some points on different credit cards and I use them for the occasional upgrade or perk, but I know that I'm leaving a lot of opportunity on the table, and I'm guessing that you might be too. So, here to help us unravel the mystery that is perks, points, and rewards, and to show us how to turn our spending into five-star travel is Julia Menez. She is a points strategy coach, speaker, and host of the Geo Breeze Travel podcast, which features stories and strategies from travelers who are traditionally underrepresented in the points and miles world. Through all of her resources, Julia helps people design sound strategies that align with their particular travel and lifestyle goals, making points and perks feel a whole lot more doable, which is what I'm most excited about. So, if you, like me, have ever felt overwhelmed, confused, or just flat out annoyed that someone else scored a business class ticket to Europe for less than your economy fare, this episode is for you. Julia, let's start with some of these more basic things. What would be your recommendations for where and how to start earning points?
Hey, Nicole. First off, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on the show. I've listened to a few episodes to prepare for this, and you're building something really special. And I just wanted to acknowledge you for that because I host a podcast. I know it takes a lot of work, so you're creating real impact, and I'm very honored to be part of it.
Thank you.
And for everybody listening, if you haven't already left a 5-star rating on this podcast, go do that on wherever you're listening from. I left mine on Podchaser, but if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, wherever, go ahead and leave that review. But as far as where to earn points, I tell people to work backwards. There's so many ads and blogs and everything online that are like, oh, these are the 20 best credit cards you should get. But everyone's paid on affiliate links. So that's how a lot of people make money is they just talk about different credit cards and then they get paid a commission when you apply for those cards. So instead of just running through that whole list and applying for every single card, I recommend working backwards. Decide where it is you want to go with these points. What is your goal in all of this? And then say there's a specific destination you want to go to. Figure out who flies there. What airlines are you probably going to be flying to get to that destination? Then, what kind of points can you even use to fly on that airline? Can you book that flight through one of their partner programs? Because we can talk about alliances and airline partners and all of that. And then, once you figure out what kind of points you need, you can let that determine what credit cards to get. And that's going to be a much more focused and surgical approach versus getting all of the different credit cards. As far as earning points, getting a sign-up bonus with a new credit card can really help to boost your points bank, especially if you are just starting. So I would start by getting 1 or 2. You don't need 26 or whatever most people online are saying they have, but start with one or two, get a couple sign-up bonuses, and then work your way up from there.
Okay, I love this advice. Kind of begin with the end in mind, know what's important to you. You said thinking about a specific trip, which I really like that idea. I think I've approached it a little bit more generally. Like, I know I'm always going to need airfare, right? Like, so I tend to look for a couple cards that are really good on, mileage or points for airfare as opposed to a specific trip. But I like that because that helps us hone in and get really practical, like you said, what airline actually flies there? What would be a good sign up bonus? Like, if we're debating between a few different cards, what are we looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you don't want to do all the math yourself and you're like, okay, just tell me what card to get, we do free credit card consultations at geobreezetravel.com/consultations. A few of the most popular ones, depending on your goals, budget, lifestyle, the Capital One cards are very popular. Either the Venture X if you want more perks, or the regular Venture if you're like, I want a lower annual fee, but just something that earns 2 points per dollar everywhere. And then we can show you how to make the most out of those points. Chase Sapphire Preferred is also a very common starter card for people who are looking to get into the world of points and miles.
Okay. And then you mentioned Venture X. Any commentary on, I think we have a tendency to want to avoid credit cards with an annual fee, but sometimes what you get in bonuses and perks and things like that far outweigh whatever you'd be paying in an annual fee. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, a lot of people approach the game with a minimize cost mindset of, well, this is why I'm getting into points, is so I can spend less money. And I encourage everyone to, instead of trying to minimize cost, maximize your return on investment for anything. So I would probably think of it as, would you rather put $0 into a machine and $100 flies out, or stick $10 into a machine and then $1,000 flies out the other side? So really looking at it from a return on investment standpoint, doing a cost benefit analysis of, okay, how much do I have to put in monetarily and time-wise and effort-wise versus what do I get for that time and effort and investment. So with the Venture X card, it's $395 per year, but you get a $300 credit to use through the Capital One portal. You also get 10,000 bonus points every anniversary, lounge access and global entry and a few other perks like that. So for most people, if you're traveling regularly anyway, it can make sense to get way more than $400 out of that card per year. A lot of hotel cards are the same, where it'll cost $95 per year to hold the card, but it comes with a free night certificate. If you're going to stay at a hotel with that brand anyway, and that hotel is probably going to cost more than $100, then you're better off getting the card because it's like you got a $250, $300 hotel stay for $95 instead. So I encourage everybody to do a cost benefit analysis rather than just saying, oh my God, it costs some amount of money, I don't want to do it.
All great advice. I think, again, with this idea of beginning with the end in mind, thinking about where you might want to travel or destination or trip you have in mind, but what might be some of the other benefits, perks, or rewards that people might want to think of? Like, so I think for myself, my Amex credit card gets me early check-in and late checkout when it's available. And for me, that is like huge because often I land places early and I don't want to be sitting around waiting for my hotel to be ready 4 p.m. Or, I want to still enjoy my last day and not be kicked out by 11 or whatever the case may be. So, what are some other examples of perks or rewards that you hear people really care about?
Yeah, it sounds like you're describing a lot of things that come with hotel status, which you can get with a lot of credit cards automatically. For example, if you're a Marriott person, the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card comes with automatic platinum status, which is their mid-tier status, and I would say the sweet spot with Marriott. I have one level higher, which is titanium, and I'm not going to renew it this year. Platinum's where it's at. You get free breakfast, which is a huge saver for a lot of people. So a lot of people like late checkout, free breakfast. I'm Team Hyatt most of the time. So with Hyatt Globalist status, which is their highest tier of status, you get 4 p.m. late checkout, lounge access, free breakfast access, upgrades to suites upon availability, They'll waive your resort fees if you're paying on points, same with parking fees. So that can really add up to a lot of savings that way. If you don't want to invest all of the time and energy into gaining status, there are ways to be treated like you have status without having to go through all of these hoops. One is just to know somebody who has status. So if you know somebody who has Hyatt Globalist, they might be able to gift you different certificates called Guest of Honor certificates, which will get you upgraded and treated like you have globalist status, even if you haven't ever stayed at a Hyatt before. Same with American Airlines. You can gift different certificates like a system-wide upgrade certificate to get somebody upgraded from economy up to business class or maybe even first class if there's availability on that flight. So just knowing somebody or having the right credit card can get you a lot of these perks as well. If you are fairly hotel agnostic and you don't care about a specific brand, but you like boutique hotels, a lot of the more premium credit cards like Amex Platinum, you can book hotels through their portal on Fine Hotels and Resorts. The Amex Platinum comes with a $200 credit that you can use towards your hotel bill. You get free breakfast most of the time, another $100 food and beverage credit. So that's some of the ways that you can get a lot of these nicer perks where they might give you an in-room gift. They might give you a spa credit. They might let you check out later. Food and beverage credits, all sorts of fun things that you can get to make your stay a little bit more special.
Okay, again, all excellent advice. I know for me, I'm always like honed in on hotels and flights. What other ways are people using points and perks that I'm just not locked into?
Flights and hotels are going to be the best way to use them. A lot of people ask about cruises or rental cars or excursions. It's not going to be the best way to use your points because the best way to use your points, or at least the way to get the most value out of them, is to leverage those transfer partners, which are going to be the airlines and hotels. If you want to use it for cruises, the best one is going to be Virgin Voyages because they also have an airline, Virgin Atlantic. So that's where you can use it for cruises and get some value out of your points, but otherwise, you're usually just cashing out your points at 1 cent per point. So, not something I would recommend. If your goal with all of this is to get as much value as you can out of your points, flights and hotels is where it's at.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier about not applying for 25 credit cards, which absolutely makes sense. I mean, I can't even imagine managing that many credit cards. But what is a good rule of thumb of how many credit cards to have to maximize points and like how to manage it? So, for example, I have one credit card where like our personal expenses go on, and I have another credit card that's more focused on my business expenses. And I guess my question is, how many, and then how do we manage these different credit cards to make sure that they don't get away from us and we can't pay them all off?
Yeah, so very important that before you even get into the game, you're in a place where you can pay off your bills every month in full because these credit cards have some of the highest interest rates in the marketplace. So I don't want anybody listening to this to get into the weird math of, okay, well, if I don't pay this much off, I'll end up owing this much in interest, but I earn this many points. That math is just never worth it. Always just be in a place where you're paying it off in full every month so you can avoid all interest charges. From there, how many cards should you get? What kind of cards should you get? How should you manage all of it? I would say for most beginners, don't open more than one credit card at a time because you're going to get most of your points out of that sign-up bonus, which usually is something like earn a few tens of thousands of points after spending a few $1,000s in the first 3 or so months of having the card. So you can get a new card probably every time you meet a sign-up bonus. So maybe every quarter, every 4 to 6 months or something like that. That's a pretty good pace for beginners. As far as managing all of this, there's multiple tools out there. Award Wallet has one where you can look at a dashboard with all of the different points balances that you have with all of the different points banks like Amex or Chase, Capital One. It'll store most of your airline information, most of your hotel information, so you just know all of your points balances on one dashboard. So that's a great free tool to use. Another great free tool to use is Card Pointers. It's an app, and then you just tell it, here's all the credit cards I have. here's what I'm trying to buy, whether it's groceries, gas, online shopping, or something else, it'll do all the calculations for you of which credit card you should use in order to earn the most points for that purchase. So, plan A, just use whatever card you most recently opened if you're working on a sign-up bonus. Plan B, just do whatever Card Pointers tells you to do.
If you're anything like me, drinking enough water every day sounds great in theory, right up there with getting 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep and folding the laundry right away, which is why I found a smarter way to stay hydrated with Cure. Cure hydration packs are clean and simple, plant-based electrolytes, no added sugar, and just 25 calories. They hydrate better than water alone, and get this, they actually taste good. My favorite flavor is lemonade, but they have several great flavors that you can try, which make drinking water feel like less of a chore. They even have a Cure Hydration variety pack for kids. JJ uses them over long practices or tournament weekends, and honestly, I use them then too, because hauling kids around to all of their activities should qualify as a sport. Listen, staying hydrated isn't just about water. You also need electrolytes. That's why I love Cure. It's clean, tastes great, and actually works. And for This Is Woman's Work listeners, you can get 20% off your first order at curehydration.com/woman's work with code Woman's Work. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure to let them know you heard about Cure right here. It really helps support the show. Don't just drink more water, upgrade it with Cure.
The Who's Down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the cheer all holiday season. And winter break means it's time for new outfits that are both festive and comfy. The last thing they need? New cozy coats for every occasion. Celebrate the season with Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
Okay, I've never heard of either of those resources, and that's incredible. I mean, that takes so much of the mystery out of it. Okay, so we talked up to this point about earning points. What about redeeming points? Is there any tips or tactics that we need to be aware of, and where are we getting it wrong when it comes to redeeming the points we've accumulated?
Yeah, this is what we actually specialize in, is people get all of these Amex points, Capital One points, and they're like, well, if it's a $3,000 flight, it looks like it costs 300,000 points, which is really, really expensive. The best way, and by best I mean the way to get the most value out of your points, is to leverage the transfer partners of each of the credit card programs. And this can be a huge maze and a huge puzzle of going down Instagram rabbit holes, trying to get different cards, copying what other influencers are doing. But that's kind of like asking somebody, oh, you just won the lottery. What are your winning lottery numbers so that I can win the lottery too? It's not really going to work that way. So we specialize in helping mostly business owners and high cash flow individuals unlock premium international travel by using our business class blueprint and navigating those transfer partners. So some steps in order to do this. If you already have a pile of points, don't do the work backwards thing that we talked about at the beginning. Instead, you just want to figure out what is the best way to get over the ocean from your continent to the continent or region that you want to travel to. So let's say that you really want to go to Paris. Don't just search for flights to Paris. Search for flights to Europe. And it might not even be from your home airport. So I'm based in Las Vegas, but most of the time when I'm looking for deals, I'm searching out of Los Angeles, San Francisco, maybe Dallas, because they're going to have way more deals. So let's say I want to go to Asia. I can book a really good flight from Los Angeles over to Japan or Korea or Singapore or something like that. And then I'll just buy a separate flight from Las Vegas over to Los Angeles. That's called a positioning flight. So that's one of the main places that people are getting it wrong, is they'll just say, well, I'm in Las Vegas and I want to get to Thailand, so I'm going to search for flights from Las Vegas to Thailand. Where really, you might need to book 3 separate flights. The nice business class one over the ocean from Los Angeles over to Singapore, a short flight from Las Vegas over to Los Angeles to actually catch that flight. And then once you're in Asia, maybe a cheap cash flight from Singapore to wherever, whichever island in Thailand it is that you want to visit. So very not intuitive because a lot of it doesn't work chronologically. You have to prioritize how do you get over the ocean in the best business class deal possible. And that's how you can really, really get a lot out of your points. And that's how people find amazing business class deals where you get lay flat seats and real forks and a huge pod and extensive menus, lounge access. We can get into all of the perks on those flights, but that's a rough rundown of our business class blueprint and how we find these flight deals.
Okay, so out of curiosity, since you've probably been on a lot of these business class, first class flights, what airlines have the best pods?
There's a few depending on what you're looking for. I think one of the most iconic is Emirates with their first class because you get to shower on a plane. I've done this. I did this from Egypt to Dubai. It was just a 4-hour flight, but I was like, hey, it's 4 hours. I need caviar. I need champagne, Dom Perignon champagne. I need pajamas. And I need a Bulgari tote bag full of all sorts of different fun things. And I showered on the plane. So that one was really, really memorable. I flew the Singapore Suites on a route they don't operate anymore. They used to have it between Frankfurt and JFK. But I flew that one. You get a bed, like a double bed in the sky. And so you have separate chair and bed and these fancy pajamas. I ate lobster on a plane. That was very special. I've done Cathay Pacific first class, and the lounge is incredible in Hong Kong. It's just one of the most well-decorated lounges ever. I'm excited to visit the Qatar Airways first class lounge this coming year. So those are some of the most memorable flights because they're the first class ones, and I've done a lot of business class as well.
You mentioned, the looking for routes that are not just your hometown to where you're going. I'd never heard that before. That's genius, especially if you don't live in a large city or right next to your international airport. What about, there used to be, and I don't know if this was just a rumor, but that flights were less expensive if you booked them on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Are there any other tips that we should be aware of when to book things or like how far in advance to book things, or are they cheaper right before? Like any tips there?
Yeah, the Tuesday thing's a complete myth that people keep posting for clickbait. Yeah, that's false. So when to book? If you want to book points flights, you either want to book very far in advance or pretty close in. So by far in advance, most award calendars will open 11 months before you're actually traveling. If you can book 10 or 11 months before you fly out, that's when you're going to find the most deals, especially if you are booking for a family or a large group. If you're a solo traveler, you're going to have decent luck booking more last-minute flights because a lot of people who just grabbed seats 11 months out are later like, oh, I can't actually take this trip. So they refund their points, seats go back on the market, people grab them last minute, which is another really unintuitive thing because a normal person would book flights 5 or 6 months out from when they want to travel. And that's about the worst time to try to find points flights because most everything has already been booked at that point and you don't have any last minute deals to choose from. So yeah, the best time to book is as far ahead as possible. It's not going to be based off of a specific day of the week.
Okay. And maybe could you give us some examples of people that you've worked with about how when they implement these tactics and these strategies, like what's the most you've seen people get? Like what are we talking about here? What's possible?
Yeah, there's a lot of different metrics for how to measure how much they got. A lot of people will measure it based off of cents per point, which is like, here's the retail value of my flight versus how many points it costs. The cents per point, if you're just cashing it out through the Amex portal, you're getting 1 cent per point. With Chase, maybe 1.25, maybe 1.5, but most of the time with Capital One and Amex, 1 cent per point. We've seen people get 10 or 15. You have to be pretty lucky to do that. Across our client book of business, we average about 5, which means sometimes we're getting 3, sometimes we're getting 7, sometimes we're getting 10, but about 5 cents per point if you're working with a professional, which means If you have 1,000,000 Amex points, if you're just using them through the Amex website, you'll get about $10,000 out of your current pile of points. We can help get $50,000 out of that same pile of points and make the points go a lot further. So that's the mathematical answer to what kind of things people get. But as far as crazy cool experiences, we coordinated groups of 8 or 10 to Corfu, Greece, kids who get to fly business class for the first time and unfortunately can never go back to flying economy. But yes, so that has happened. We book people on amazing honeymoons, a lot of retired people as well, where maybe you've just been putting all of your business expenses onto a business Amex card for the last 10 years. You've stored up a couple million points and you're like, I don't even know what to do with this, but I feel like it should get me more than $20,000 worth of travel. It can get you a lot more than $20,000 worth of travel. So that is what we help people do.
So amazing. I'm like super excited now to even like look at all my points, and I've been doing it sort of haphazardly. So a couple follow-up questions. A lot of airlines have their own status outside of a credit card. Any tips or suggestions about combining or not combining them? So, for example, I have a JetBlue credit card. I also fly JetBlue a ton because it flies a lot out of Boston. It's one of its hubs. So I feel like I don't necessarily double dip, but I'm getting an accumulation between the two that, I don't know that I would be able to get on it. So is that a good thing, or would it be better for me to separate those out?
It depends a lot on your travel style. A lot of people online will see like, oh, so and so has United status or airline or American Airlines status, JetBlue, Delta status. I should get status. For the vast majority of people, you don't need status because, first of all, status isn't going to get you upgraded to the nice lay flat business class across the ocean. I think it's much easier to just get the flexible points and then book business class straight out rather than hoping and praying for upgrades, because they're definitely not going to upgrade a family of 4 on an economy ticket just because you have gold or silver status with an airline. Where status can make sense is if you are flying pretty regularly and you just want everything to be as streamlined as possible, where you're like, I am commuting on a consulting gig every week. I just need to get through the airport as fast as possible. That's where status can make sense. Also, if you are a content creator about points and miles, then just being able to talk about all the status perks has its benefits as well. But I think there's a little bit of like the survivor bias there, because everybody who you see talking about their status, their livelihood is probably to talk about airline status. So for most normal people, I would say it's not worth it to chase status.
Okay, then I think I have an inkling of what your answer might be to this question. But every once in a while, I get emails about buying points. Any thoughts about that, whether it's to increase status or to just have more points? Any thoughts about literally buying points?
There are 2 rules to buying points. 1, don't do it speculatively. Only buy the points if you already know this is what I want to use the points for. And number 2, make sure you do a cost comparison and that buying the points and redeeming them for the seat that you want is actually going to be cheaper than just buying the seat that you want, so that you don't have to jump through all these hoops. Aside from that, buying points can be a great strategy, especially if someone's like, I don't want to do all the credit card stuff. Like, how can I get these really great redemptions with a good discount, but not open a bunch of credit cards for whatever reason? Buying points can really help with that, because I've used this strategy multiple times. In South America, there were these business class flights from Argentina to Brazil, and they were with Avianca Life Miles. I didn't want to open the credit card. The transfer partners over there can be very slow. I didn't want my points to get stuck in the ether, so I was like, I'll just buy the points. Bought $500 worth of points, redeemed them for $2,000 worth of business class tickets. So the purchasing of points can be a great strategy. You just need to make sure that you actually see the redemption you want to spend the points on first. So I would learn about redemptions before tracking point sales.
Okay. I asked all of the questions that are top of mind for me, but again, this feels a little bit overwhelming and there's so many people doing so many different things. Are there any questions that I didn't ask that I should have?
I think you did a great job of covering a lot of the misconceptions about points and what people do wrong. So the main other thing is when people search for flights, most people are booking round trip flights. With points flights, always search one way because let's say you're taking a trip to Europe. The best deals out might be with Air France, but then the best flight back, you might be flying British Airways. So you're going to be booking on different airlines. And if you try to just search round trip, you're not going to find either of those options. It'll just be like, it's very expensive to fly this round trip. So that's one other tip that I would give people is if you want to find better points deals, search everything in one-way segments.
That is an excellent tip, and I wish I would have had that. We went to Paris a few months ago, and just by accident, we ended up flying out one airline and back the other airline, and it was so much less expensive, and we were able to use points in it was like pure dumb luck, but I didn't know to do that. I always thought it was less expensive if you book a round trip, so great tip there. Okay, Julia, I know you have so many resources. So for the listener, if you go to Instagram, GeoBreeze Travel, and DM the words podcast 2025, there'll be a ton of resources. Julia, can you give a sense of what's available and what they'll get?
Yeah, so this is going to be for high cash flow individuals, business owners who feel like after listening to this episode, you're leaving a lot of money on the table when it comes to points and miles. So you're going to get a couple things. The first thing is my hotel upgrade email template. This is a script that, when used correctly, has gotten thousands of my followers free upgrades and amenities at hotels all over the world, and the directions for how to use it are included in the template as well. The second thing is something that's not available anywhere else online. We just use it internally. It's not released to the public. I call it the potential savings calculator, and it is my personal spreadsheet because I used to be an actuary, so I love spreadsheets. We use this to calculate how much money you're leaving on the table when it comes to luxury travel through points. And it could either be because you have a lot of points already and you don't know how to redeem them, or because you have high expenses, but you're not optimizing those expenses for earning points by putting it on the right cards. So if you want both of those resources, absolutely free, just as my way of saying thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. Just go to my Instagram, GeoBreeze Travel. DM me the word podcast 2025, all one word, no spaces. And then I'll send you the free hotel upgrade email template and the potential savings calculator so that you can hopefully level up your travel with points and miles.
Okay, I know I'm doing that. And we will put all of the links to all of the ways that you can find and follow Julia and GeoBreeze Travel in show notes. But again, especially that link to her Instagram account, GeoBreeze Travel. And so you can DM her podcast 2025 and get those amazing perks. Julia, thank you for your actuarial brain and doing all of this research and sharing it all with us. Super helpful. And I know I took a ton of really good takeaways away, even just for myself. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, friend, here's the deal. This episode is about making your money work smarter for you, for your goals, your priorities, your version of a rich, rewarding life. You work hard for those dollars. Let them work for you. And the best part? You don't have to be perfect at this or know all of the answers to start benefiting from it. Just take that first step. And as Julia showed us, even a few small changes can open big doors or maybe even a few lie flat seats. Because seeing the world, experiencing new things, creating adventure, and having something to look forward to shouldn't require breaking the bank. When you start leveraging the points, perks, and rewards that are already out there for you, you can actually enjoy and maximize your experience without the financial hangover. Take the break. Enjoy the experience. See the world. That is woman's work.
You know the words that dominate our news cycle.
Private equity keeps inventing
generative artificial intelligence tax on home.
America's chip fueled by market volatility.
That's on Fed rate cuts.
But do you truly understand how they impact your world and your wallet? In a world that skims the what, understand the why. Because context changes everything. Subscribe to learn more at Bloomberg.com, the global benchmark for business news.